This is your host, and today we're going to talk about what animals are like in their natural habitats. We'll talk about how different animals adapt to the conditions in their ecosystems and the ways that they interact with other organisms. So, let's get started. First, we have to understand what an ecosystem is before we can talk about the adaptations of animals to their environment. An ecosystem is all the living things in a given area, together with their non-living or physical environment. Ecosystems are made up of both biotic and abiotic factors. Biotic factors are the living components of an ecosystem, such as plants, animals, fungi, and bacteria. Abiotic factors are the non-living parts of an ecosystem, such as sunlight, water, temperature, and soil. These factors are not mutually exclusive. In fact, they're all interconnected in a delicate balance. An organism's habitat is its natural environment where it makes its home. A habitat is characterized by the unique combination of biotic and abiotic factors that are present there. So when we talk about the environment of an organism, we are talking about the conditions in its habitat, which will vary greatly depending on where the organism lives. So let's look at some examples of how different animals adapt to their environments. First, let's look at the Arctic fox. The Arctic fox lives in the Arctic Circle, where temperatures can reach -40 degrees Fahrenheit or -40 degrees Celsius. To survive in these cold conditions, the Arctic fox has several adaptations. First, it has thick fur that helps to keep it warm. Its small ears and stubby tail also help to reduce heat loss. In addition, the Arctic fox is a carnivore, which means that it eats meat. This is an adaptation because meat is a good source of calories, which the Arctic fox needs to stay warm. Finally, the Arctic fox is active during the day, which means that it can take advantage of the sun's warmth. By contrast, it is inactive at night when temperatures are at their lowest. All of these adaptations allow the Arctic fox to survive in one of the harshest environments on Earth. The next example is the polar bear. Polar bears live in the Arctic Circle, just like the Arctic foxes. But unlike Arctic foxes, polar bears are better adapted to swim than to walk. They use their large paws and claws to catch fish, which make up a big part of their diet. Their blubber and fur also help keep them warm in the freezing temperatures. Polar bears rely on the sea ice to hunt for food and give birth to their young. As the climate warms, the sea ice melts earlier in the year, which makes it harder for polar bears to find food and raise their young. This is why polar bears are considered to be a vulnerable species. Next, let's look at the desert kangaroo rat. The desert kangaroo rat lives in the desert where there is very little water available. To survive in these dry conditions, the desert kangaroo rat has several adaptations. First, it is nocturnal, which means that it is active at night when it is cooler and there is less risk of being seen by predators. The desert kangaroo rat also gets most of the water it needs from the plants it eats. In addition, it is very efficient at conserving water. For example, it produces very concentrated urine, which means that it doesn't waste water. Finally, the desert kangaroo rat can live in a social group called a mob. This allows them to take turns looking out for predators while the others forage for food. All of these adaptations allow the desert kangaroo rat to survive in one of the driest environments on Earth. The next example is the giraffe. Giraffes live in the grasslands and savannas of Africa. They are well adapted to their environment in several ways. First, their long necks allow them to reach high plants that other animals can't, giving them access to more food. Their height also allows them to see predators from far away, which gives them time to run away if they're in danger. In addition, giraffes are very fast runners, which helps them escape from predators. Finally, giraffes have adapted to living in groups. This allows them to take turns keeping watch for predators while the others eat or rest. All of these adaptations allow giraffes to survive in an environment where there are many predators that want to eat them. The next example is the giraffe. Giraffes live in the grasslands and savannas of Africa. They are well adapted to their environment in several ways. First, their long necks allow them to reach high plants that other animals can't, giving them access to more food. Their height also allows them to see predators from far away, which gives them time to run away if they're in danger. In addition, giraffes are very fast runners, which helps them escape from predators. Finally, giraffes have adapted to living in groups. This allows them to take turns keeping watch for predators while the others eat or rest. All of these adaptations allow giraffes to survive in an environment where there are many predators that want to eat them. Now let's look at the African wild dog. The African wild dog is a highly endangered species that lives in the grasslands and savannas of Africa. It is well adapted to its environment in several ways. First, African wild dogs are very social animals. They live in packs led by an alpha male and female. The pack is responsible for hunting and taking care of the young. In addition, African wild dogs are very fast runners, which helps them catch their prey. They can also jump very high, which helps them avoid being injured when they land on the ground after a long jump. Finally, African wild dogs are very vocal animals. They use a variety of vocalizations to communicate with each other. This allows them to coordinate their hunting efforts and protect each other from predators. All of these adaptations allow the African wild dog to survive in an environment where there is a lot of competition for food. Finally, let's look at the blue whale. The blue whale is the largest animal on Earth. It lives in the oceans all over the world. It is well adapted to its environment in several ways. First, blue whales are very good swimmers. They use their large tails to propel themselves through the water at speeds of up to 20 miles per hour. This allows them to escape from predators and catch their prey. In addition, blue whales have very large mouths that they use to filter krill and other small fish out of the water. Finally, blue whales are very social animals. They travel in groups and communicate with each other using a variety of sounds. This allows them to coordinate their movements and protect each other from predators. All of these adaptations allow the blue whale to be the top predator in its environment. As you can see, animals have adapted to their environments in all sorts of ways. Some adaptations help animals survive in harsh conditions, while others help them find food or avoid being eaten. But no matter what the adaptation is, it's important to remember that it's the result of millions of years of natural selection. Now that you know a little bit about the adaptations of different animals to their environments, you can start to appreciate the delicate balance of nature. When one part of an ecosystem is disrupted, it can have ripple effects throughout the entire system. For example, if there is a drought, there will be less food available for the animals in the ecosystem. This can lead to starvation or migration. If a predator is introduced into an ecosystem, it can cause the populations of its prey to crash. This can have a devastating impact on the ecosystem as a whole. It's important to remember that animals are not the only organisms in an ecosystem. Plants are also a vital part of any ecosystem. Plants are the primary producers in most ecosystems. This means that they use sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide to create their own food. Plants are also responsible for producing the oxygen that animals need to breathe. As you can see, plants play a vital role in the survival of animals. As humans, we have a responsibility to protect the environment and the animals that live in it. We can do this by reducing our own consumption, recycling and reusing materials, and by supporting organizations that protect wildlife. By doing these things, we can help ensure that future generations will be able to enjoy the beauty of the natural world. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button below. Also, if you haven't done so already, subscribe for more great videos about the environment and ecology. Thanks for watching.